as many of you know, Northwest Village Network is an all-volunteer community of seniors who live active lives. We work to provide educational and social programs as well as supportive services to help us all age well. And we'd like to welcome Arnie Zimmerman, who is executive producer of the award-winning
And my wife is executive producer also.
And executive producer, Janula. And
Carol's marketing, yeah.
And Carol. And Carol is in a bar scene. So, and so this film, as many of you know, has won a lot of awards, and those of you who have seen it know why. But the really interesting thing, I think, especially for us as a retirement community, especially, is that Arnie started, this is kind of a second career, and it's a big change because Arnie has an engineering degree and worked in the recruiting business. So again, this is something very different, which will be fun to hear Arnie talk about. And then there'll be time for questions. And if anybody wants to put a question in chat, we'll be looking at that also, or comments. So Arnie, welcome to our program. And thank you so much for doing this. And go right ahead.
So what exactly are you asking me?
No, Arnie,
so start with
for you to just, it's interesting how we got into this.
Let me give you my background. Like I said, I'm from New York. And I was a chemical engineer in my first career, and I did it for 10 years. And I took a chemical engineering job, and that's what got me to California, where I met Janula a few years later. And but I knew I was a born salesman, and so I left the engineering field and became an executive recruiter. And then I started my own firm, and then I formed a partnership with my very close friend, and we recruited in the food and consumer products industries, personal products, that sort of thing. And I did it for close to 40 years. I was doing it nonstop. But I always had this fascination of the movie business. And maybe 10 years before I stopped recruiting, I went back to UCLA and I got an extension degree in filmmaking. I was going 2 nights and all day Saturday for about 3 years and got a degree in filmmaking. And then I started writing screenplays. So I wrote 2 screenplays, and I gave it a shot to take the first one to make into a movie. And I am not a writer, but at least I started with the basic process of coming up with an idea for a story, getting it into a screenplay, and then trying to figure out how to make it into a movie, which took maybe 8 years to do. It didn't happen overnight. Trust me. It's a long, long process of getting involved. But what happened was I used my executive search skills. I was banging on the phone at least 50 calls a day for 40 years. So I'm used to selling all day long. And so I used my executive search skills to find the money and to find the talent. And that's basically what I did.
I'm going to inject one thing. Yeah. Arnie didn't know one single person in Hollywood, not one person. And it was his personality and his determination that made this movie come together. Yeah,
and like I said, it took close to 8 years. It didn't happen overnight. And after I had written the original screenplay, basically I did it to learn the process of getting my story down on paper in some format. And then, believe it or not, Barbara, you would probably know this, but my rabbi at Temple Menorah referred me to a screenwriter, a major screenwriter, who graduated, was a close friend of his son, who's a literary agent. So that got me into that world. And he took my screenplay and made it into more of a Hollywood type screenplay, act 1, act 2, act 3, and so forth. But I was having a hard time pitching it and selling it. So I believe that something was not quite right. And maybe he just didn't get the story well enough to get it into a screenplay form which people would buy. So I kind of started from scratch, and I did a major search to find a screenwriter. And Janula and I were spending all our vacation time going to film festivals. We'd go to the Maui Film Festival every year, the Mill Valley Film Festival, the Big Sur Film Festival, the Santa Barbara Film Festival, the Palm Springs Film Festival, the American Film Institute here in Los Angeles. So we were starting to network with a lot of young people in the movie business and so forth. And it was at the Big Sur Film Festival I met this young woman by the name of Sabrina Doyle, who is the writer of the film, took my screenplay and took it into this final level. And at the time she was working, well, actually when I hired her, she was freelancing. She was doing screenplays for people like me. But when I first met her at Big Sur, she was working for a major documentarian. So I knew she had good experience. And she was a London gal. She graduated University of Cambridge and got her degree in communications, worked for the BBC, and then came to the United States on a Fulbright scholarship and studied filmmaking at the American Film Institute with a major in directing. So even though she was young, she was maybe in her mid to late 30s, I knew she had, it's the headhunter in me. If you got the right education and the right experience, you probably could do the job, and her communication skills were great and her energies were off the charts, let me tell you. And so I told her the deal I had with her was because I didn't want to go through the same problem I had with the first screenwriter who was famous and didn't deliver. So the deal I had with her was if she could tell my story of a single man with no kids who meets a single woman with 3 or 4 kids, she can take it in any direction she wants. And then I gave her the option to direct if I could raise the money, which is what happened. And so that's why it's filmed in a small milling community in Oregon. She was fascinated by the work of Twin Peaks director. And so that look is what she wanted. And then she wanted to make it low income and people that, it's kind of like if this family makes it, any family can make it. They got money issues. They had prison issues. They had one issue after another. They had a black child, a transgendered child. I mean, she took everything you can think of to make a very, very difficult family workable. But I got it. And I felt that she really got the essence of the story. And I said, and it took about a year and a half to raise the money. And finally we did it. And then my next thing was I had to look for a production company who actually knew the business. And so then I was fascinated. I don't know if you've seen it, and I recommend this. If you haven't seen the film of the Florida Project, it's written and directed by a young man who lives in LA now, but he went to NYU Film School. His name is Sean Baker. He did a film for $100,000 on his iPhone 7. He wrote the story, shot the movie, directed the movie, did the music for it, and it was called Tangerine, and it's a love story between 2 black transgendered people. And I said, if you can make a movie like that and get it into Sundance, these people know what they're doing. And I knew they could make a high quality, low budget movie. So I found out all of his producers, and one of them, Kevin Chinoy, I got him the screenplay and I sold him, and he took the project on. And the rest is history, because he got us some amazing people to make this movie. As long as I could come up with the money, he was able to make a quality movie for that. I don't know so we had Jeff Russo as the composer. Jeff won an Emmy for Fargo, the television show Fargo. We have some music groups that are hotter than hell right now. I mean, I don't know how we got all these people. It's beyond me, but they liked the story and they liked the film when they saw it, and they were willing to put their talents in. And most of the deals are back-end deals. We had no money to pay up front. Everybody is making money on the profits of the movie or on a back-end thing. Same thing with Pablo and Jenna. They agreed to do this movie for SAG scale, the lowest possible for their experience level. They made this movie. And so if the movie sells and does well, they'll make good money in the back end, but they didn't make it up front, just like none of us did. So, we shot the movie in 30 days, 25 days of actual shooting, 21 in 10 locations in Oregon, 2 in downtown Sacramento, and 2 in Los Angeles, 1 in Hollywood, and then all of the ocean scenes were in Redondo Beach, not far from where Carol lives, right? In fact, right down. Down, from Carol's house, you can see where we shot the ocean scenes, that sort of thing. And then it took us. I had a young editor, and this was his first, and he had multiple sclerosis, so I had to give him all the time in the world to edit it because we weren't paying him a lot. So it took almost a year. I thought we'd get it edited in 6 months, but so it took.
You did a good job.
Yeah, he did a great. He's fantastic. But it took a year to edit it, and then 220 hit, and we were accepted into Tribeca for 2020, and everything got canceled. Tribeca got canceled, South by Southwest got canceled, Cannes got canceled. So all this work, and we couldn't show it to anybody. You talk about disappointment. We had maybe 30 to 50 people coming in from all over the country and the world into New York for the Tribeca Film Festival in June. And everybody had hotels and flights, and it all got canceled. So we had our first film festival in France, in northern France, and in late September. And so we flew Sabrina and the cinematographer there because they could stay in London. She's from London, so she was able to stay at her parents' home and her sister's home and so forth. So it wasn't a big expense in that sense. And then she won. We won the award for best jury film at this French film, and that's when I knew we had something. It was just we beat out some Academy Award nominated films. It's amazing what we accomplished. And then we had our U.S. premiere at the Woodstock Film Festival at a drive-in movie theater. They were not doing sit-down theaters yet. It was at a drive-in movie theater. And then Tribeca invited us back for 2021 in June, not April, where they usually have it in June. And so we had our big premiere at Tribeca this past June. And then we signed with a sales agency, Visit Films, who were based in Brooklyn, New York. And then they sold it to Vertical Entertainment, a major distributor here in Hollywood, actually in Santa Monica. And then Vertical just sold it to Hulu, has the exclusive rights to it for the next 2 years. So we were at about a dozen film festivals, winning award after award, and some of them were monetary awards, which paid the bills, let me tell you. And so we were in Miami, we were in Cleveland, we were in Montreal, we were in Portland. I can't even think of all the film festivals in Barcelona, in London, and so forth and so on. At least a dozen film festivals, and we've sold the movie to maybe 20 countries around the world right now, including Australia, HBO in Eastern Europe, Sky in Great Britain, which is the Netflix of Great Britain. So we're doing well. It's just that getting people to watch the movie on video on demand, and now Hulu, will take over, that sort of thing. So like I said, for me, it's about a 7-8 year process. For Sabrina, this is close to a 5-year process of working with me. We started in 2016. It took her a while to write the screenplay and then for me to raise the money. So it's a long process, even when you know what you're doing. And I can't say we did when we started, Right.
So one of the questions is, what is the original impetus for the story?
Let me go back. When I first came up with the concept, I was going to tell a biblical story, the Abrahamic legend. If you remember that Abraham and Sarah couldn't have children. And then finally she gives birth, and God asks Abraham to kill the child, and he doesn't, and so forth. So that was the original impetus of where I got the seed from. But the actual story itself, when I married Janula had kids, so I became an instant stepfather. And so I always said to myself, if I survive this, there's got to be a film in this. And sure enough, it was. And so basically, it's our story told the way Sabrina needed to tell it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And let's look at the chat questions first, and then we can have people. Let's see. How did you get the movie into the various film festivals? Do you have to be invited? Is it juried? How does that process?
They're juried as far as awards, but Visit Films, our sales agent, is in Brooklyn, New York. They have a department which sends your film into film festivals, and so they know the whole proper procedure of doing that. And we had done it before we had Visit, so we did a couple of our own, but then they took over and they got us into all the big festivals, you know. But Tribeca was ours. We did Tribeca on our own, and getting invited back was just because we were in 2020. That's before Visit, so we actually did Tribeca on our own.
Wow.
You know. And that was a big coup getting it. You know, we didn't get it in time for Sundance because we were still editing, but we got into Tribeca. And I wanted Tribeca because I'm a New Yorker, but Sabrina wanted Sundance. It's a little more prestigious. Yeah.
Let's see. Helene, do you want to ask your question? Can you unmute?
Unmute.
You have to.
Can you believe we were playing a word game and we put in unmute and they said it wasn't a word? How in the world could that be when all of us are always saying, you have to unmute? Unbelievable. So my question is, you know, after we saw the movie, then I went on the internet to read reviews and read, especially about the ending. And it said the movie was full of symbolism. Mm-hmm. And it was based on a Germanic folk tale about a seaman who gets lured to shore. And I just wondered, did Sabrina add all those layers?
Yeah, that's all Sabrina's creation.
That's all Sabrina.
That's all Sabrina's creation. What she did, Lorelei is in both German mythology and Irish mythology, is a mermaid that lured lustful sailors to their deaths. So this is the metaphor with Pablo or Waylon taking over this family of 3 kids that are not his. He is being lured to his death, just as Lorelei would lure a seaman to his death. That's kind of the metaphor that Sabrina created on that.
So did she have to explain all this embedded meaning back to you after you gave her the original story?
No, I let her run with it. I mean, I just trusted that she would do her thing, you know. I've raised a number of kids that are all artists, so it's like in fact, Janula too. It's kind of like I wasn't getting in the way. I needed them to do their artistic world, and if it failed, it failed. But you know, I thought it would work. Uh-huh. You know, I took a risk. Uh-huh. You know.
And then, Hope, do you want to ask your question?
Let me unmute.
You're unmuted, actually.
Oh, I just wondered how you went about finding the children. They were great.
Yeah, that I have to hand it. We had 2 talent agents. One in Los Angeles we hired just to find Pablo and Jenna, and then we had a talent agent in Portland who cast everyone else. But Sabrina went up in like July, and she spent July and August and September going to every school play you can think of in Oregon and every school camp that has drama camps, and met these kids. And the little boy was 6, and he's in Eugene, and the little girl was 10. She played a 12-year-old, she's 10, and she's also in Eugene. And the boy was 15, and he was from Vancouver, Oregon, on the other side of the Portland River. And Sabrina pretty much found them all after 3 months of going to schools and plays and drama schools and everything. And it was pretty amazing how she found the kids.
I just want to interject one thing. When I heard Sabrina talking about the kids, she said what made them so good was that none of them had acted before. So they were really true to themselves. Whatever their role was, they took it on. They had no airs or anything. It was their innocence that made them so good.
Right. The older boy was actually in 1 or 2 commercials. He had done it but never any plays or theater or movies. That was all new to all 3 of them. And I think they all got the bug, to be honest with you. You know?
They were precious. They were just
because the older boy is graduating high school, and he's thinking of trying to find a school that has a film school or something, or a theater department or something. And his mother keeps emailing me what to do. Yeah.
You adopted another family.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm most proud of, I have to tell you, is we created an unbelievable extended family for 50 people to spend their own money to fly to New York and book hotels. Is like a miracle to me that it happened. And when we did theatrical release was July 30th for about 2 weeks. We were in 13 cities in the United States, but because we filmed in Oregon, we showed the movie in Portland, Salem, McKinnville, and Eugene, and built a lot of press around it because the papers loved us because the movie was shot there. And one of the reasons I allowed Sabrina to shoot in Oregon, I flew up to Oregon and I met with the film commissioner, Tim Williams, and was sitting at Starbucks having coffee and so forth. And it turns out that my daughter works for a theater company here, like Cornerstone, and the chairman of the board of Cornerstone is his personal friend. So all of a sudden I had this connection out of nowhere. And so he guaranteed me if I could show him, raise the money and show him the account that the money was physically in the bank account, he would guarantee me that we'd get about $90,000 in kickback, which we did. And so what they did, for every person who worked on the movie that lived in Oregon, I think they gave us 10% of their salary back. And every service we used in Oregon, they gave us 15% back, hotels and food services and things like that. So, we got $90,000 back as the reason we filmed up there. And then hiring people in Oregon, a hell of a lot less than California. Trust me on that one. Right. So that just worked out great, And
Susan Bacchius, I think your comment goes along with this right now. Do you want to comment?
Thank you, Barbara. I'm impressed that the U.S., the capitalist system still works.
Yeah.
You got a good idea, lots of drive. You find sources for income. You find sources for talent. You put it all together and you hit the national stage.
Yeah. It's kind of,
very promising.
Yeah, it's kind of a miracle. We all know it's a miracle that we got this far and got into Tribeca and got a major distributor and now sold it to Hulu, which is Disney. It's just unbelievable,
Congratulations. You have really done a lot with what you did.
Yeah. It's everybody tells us that. And I know it. We've won about, besides the $90,000 we got from the state of Oregon, we won over $60,000 in awards. Miami Film Festival gave us $10,000 for being the best film there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We kept winning awards, which paid the bills.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, there's another comment which I can't find now. Faye, did you and Dan want to say something else?
I was just wondering how you got permission to film in a place like Hollywood.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, we had to pay permit fees and so forth, but it wasn't really a problem. I remember it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you remember the one scene in Hollywood. There's a guy in a gray paint and gray suit and gray hat waving to the. Well, we spent an entire day on Hollywood Boulevard trying to talk one of those people into doing a movie. We thought we'd get like a Frank Sinatra lookalike or that kind of thing. But we just couldn't find one, and he did the job for us, so it was great. It was great, but it wasn't a problem. We just got a permit from the city, and we did it. Same thing in Redondo. We had to get a permit in Redondo to shoot at the beach.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, whether some of the places were a lot easier to line up than others. I mean,
Yeah, no doubt about it. And if it was hard to line up, we had to move away. Yeah, we were originally going to shoot the ocean scenes in Malibu. And if you remember in 2018, Malibu had those terrible fires.
Oh, yeah.
And so a week before we're supposed to shoot, or 2 weeks before we're supposed to shoot, they negated our permits. And so I knew with this particular beach in Redondo Beach. So a friend of mine who lives up in Palos Verdes took photos of that area and sent it to us in Oregon. And I showed it to everybody, and everybody agreed this was pretty damn good. It could substitute for Malibu and that kind of stuff. It had more of a nature beach thing rather than just beach.
Wow.
That worked out great.
And then Leonard, I think you had a question you'd like to ask? No. Okay, the question from, let me find it. Okay, there's two other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So how much money did you have to raise in order to get, sort of the production company to sign on?
Well, we weren't there yet, but we made this movie for $700,000. And then we got $90,000 back from the state of Oregon. We won about $60,000. So it ended up when we being maybe $750,000 movie in the long run. But once he read the screenplay and I convinced him to do it, he was in. He didn't even know if I'd raise the money. I mean, he took a chance that we could raise the money. But he wasn't going to do anything till we had money in the bank. That sort of thing. Yeah. That's the hardest thing, is raising the money. Trust me. There's so much creative talent out there. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And we got lucky with these 3 kids that we used in the movie. We had 6 of the best parents in the world. One parent was on set every single day of the 30 days. So we couldn't do it without them because of the age of the kids. And we tried to film as many when the kids were, when it was their scenes with the kids, we tried to film on the weekends so it wouldn't miss as much school. But we still had to have a tutor on set all the time, which was an expense,
And then John, did you want to ask your question? You have to unmute, which isn't a word, but.
Evidently. Yeah.
One of my questions, Arnie, is there any interest in translating the script of the movie to a novel form?
I have not had, that's not my interest. And I'm more into getting it into DVD form.
Yeah.
And I also commented that the female lead seemed like a fish out of water. Was that kind of the premise of her becoming a mermaid?
Exactly what do you mean by that?
She was like out to sea, she had children, sure, she had a job, which was menial, but she had greater aspirations. And it was just, I guess my thought process was she was like a fish out of water. So hence the mermaid. Yeah,
I don't think that tied into Sabrina's thinking. In May, I'll have to ask Sabrina that because that's a new question for me. I think she was definitely at the bottom of where she was, raising 3 kids with no money in a small town in Oregon. In fact, I don't know if you noticed the scene of the lumber truck where he hitches a ride, Pablo, and at one scene he asked him if there's any jobs at the mill, that sort of thing. Where we filmed in Banks, Oregon, which is about an hour southwest of Portland. And I mean, those logging trucks are going up and down. We had to stop all the time to let a logging truck go by. It was that type of environment of everybody who had income was working in the logging industry, or mill, that sort of thing. So and that was Sabrina's creation of making it as low income, as low level as possible. And I don't know if you've seen a lot of the movies. Nomadland won the Academy Award for Best Picture. I mean, we're dealing with poverty as a major issue in America now. And this is like the themes and the same the Korean movie that won the Academy Award the year before that, but there's people living in the basement of somebody else's home.
Right.
We're dealing with that subject now. So I think that's what motivated Sabrina to keep it low income and deal with those kind of things.
And Arnie, talk about the motorcycle. That was just so they were all real. Those were the real people, the motorcycle.
Yeah,
gang.
in fact, we recruited this one guy. We went around to different motorcycle clubs. And then I would check with the police if they had records or anything like that. But once we found a legitimate motorcycle club that was straightforward, they did this for fun. The head guy, this guy Tony Mothershead, we made him the transportation manager. So he lined up all the motorcycles and all the motorcycle riders and all the cars you see in the movie. Tony did this for us. So he was just amazing. And so most of these motorcycle guys were his friends, and they motorcycle together on a regular basis. This is their lifestyle. There's no doubt about it. So we didn't have to pay for the motorcycles. We did have to pay for the time of the guys on the bikes those days, but yeah, that worked out great. I mean, you in order to make a high quality, low budget movie, you got to make 1,000 deals a day. That easy.
Dina, do you have a question?
Yeah. I wondered what the movie's rated on Rotten Tomatoes.
We've been averaging about 88 on Rotten Tomatoes for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done very well. And I think that's why Hulu picked us up so quick.
Ah. Yeah, that's where I watched.
Disney. I mean, it's kind of like it's a family movie. It's a love story, but because of the low income and that kind of stuff, and he's in prison, I was a little surprised Hulu picked it up so quick, but they did. They haven't only got the whole romance and family drama.
Well, it doesn't feel, the language doesn't feel like family.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, the language is, no, I'm glad you got such a high ranking on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's what helped promote it, that Rotten Tomatoes was high on us the whole time.
Great.
And that's why we got such great reviews. They always check Rotten Tomatoes.
Everybody does now.
Oh, God, do they?
Everybody.
And Joan?
And Gretchen Corbett. How did
you? Yeah, thank God. You recognize Gretchen Corbett, huh?
Well, I saw the name and then I had to go back and look at the movie again to find her.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, she played the woman in the trailer park that takes care of
the Rockford Files.
Yeah. She was a regular on the TV show, The Rockford Files. And she was a longtime Broadway actress. So when she retired from Broadway, she grew up in the Portland area, so she wanted to move back there. And she does jobs like this to just keep active. Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah. In fact, the guy that the actor Bob Bear, who sold Pablo the ice cream truck, he turned 90 on the set that week.
Wow.
And he was great. He was great, So we got lucky finding him, that sort of thing. The ice cream truck we found on one of those services. We rented it. We didn't buy it. I should have bought it. I didn't know how hot it would be.
But we had it for a while.
Yeah, we had it for a while. Right.
And Susan, you have a great question.
Yes, my question is, what's your next film?
Like everybody asked me, I do have another screenplay. It's called Jacob's Confession, and it deals with infidelity and fatherhood. But like I said, until cash comes coming in, we ain't doing nothing. And I know Sabrina and the actress that played Layla, she's the one that Pablo tries to score in the bathroom of the bar there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's a fantastic woman. And she was also associate producer, so she worked nonstop. She was the actress on that scene, and if you remember in the motorcycle scene, she's the one who gets the hot dog, going through the thing. So, but she's dying to do another one with me. So we'll see.
Be careful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but like I said, nothing's happening until money starts coming in. We got to pay bills. Right.
And then, does something like this help people to tell other people about? I mean, is the movie? How do people know to see the movie, even though it's on Hulu, which is a really popular?
Yeah, Hulu will there'll be millions watching it on. Not that I'll make millions, but people will well, but what happened was Vertical Entertainment, who is our U.S. distributor, so they have the United States and the Virgin Islands and the Caribbean and Bermuda and all that stuff. All English-speaking countries. They put the domestic deals out, and so we were picked up by Amazon Prime, by Comcast, by a dozen other systems in the United States. But it was video on demand, so you paid either $4.99. I think it's now down to $2.99, but it started at $4.99, then $3.99, $2.99. Now, if you subscribe on Hulu, you don't pay anything if you're a subscriber to Hulu, that sort of thing. So we made, and then, like I said, we were in 13 theaters for 3 weeks for theatrical release. So we did well in Portland, we did well in LA, but the rest of us, the theater, nobody was going to the movies in 2021. Trust me, it was just barely paid the bills for that one, which is kind of a shame because even the big blockbuster movies didn't make what they thought they'd make. But nobody's going to the movies right now. But yeah, so first we had theatrical release and video on demand simultaneously starting July 30th. And then in mid to late December, Hulu picked this up, and that's considered subscription video on demand. You get it for free if you subscribe to that service. And they have exclusive rights for the next 2 years.
And Helene, do you want to ask your question? And then Beth after that?
I'm just curious. When you see this long list of producers, executive producers, what do they actually do? Are they the funders, or do they have
cast? Well, there's 4 executive producers, my wife and I, and then Pablo. In order to get Pablo and Jenna to work for as low as they did, we gave them executive producer credits, which is really important in this business, the titles you get on every film and so forth. And when you look at the credits, it's hard to believe. It looks like 1 million people made this movie, and they did here and there and here and there and here and there. It's just incredible to make a movie. How many people you need for a day or 2 days? In fact, I got to tell you one story. I'm on the main house, which was it was a big farm. It was the house of a big farm, and the owners were trying to sell it, so they rented it to us for the 30 days we did the movie. And it was a big property, it's a huge property. The house was not that big, but the property was huge. And I'm sitting in the car. I was on the phone nonstop, making deals, selling this, doing this. And another car pulls up next to me, and she rolls down the window, and she says, "I'm an extra. Are you an extra also?" And I said, "No, I'm the executive producer, but I can take you to where you need to sign in." It's like they're coming and going all day long. It's that hard. I mean, you have to have people that manage all that, producers and sub-producers, and meaning there's the main producers, and then there's 2-3 levels below of handling all that, where to sign in, that kind of stuff. It's just incredible, because you got to realize you saw a movie that's 1 hour and 52 minutes, but we shot 95 hours of film in 30 days. Well, 25 days with 30 days off in between. So that's how much work goes into it. We had some days we were working 16-hour days just to get shots in.
So my question is, well, it's 2 parts. So first of all, now that it's on Hulu for the next 2 years, like, do you get revenue driven by the time, based upon with Hulu, or is it a flat fee? Like, how does that work?
They paid us a flat fee up front. I can't go into that, but
no, that's okay. I'm just asking.
Right, but they paid a flat fee, so that's what I'm saying. Millions of people will watch it. I ain't making that kind of money.
That's why I was curious about, if that's why. So my next question was, are you going on any podcasts to promote the film, or does it?
We've been on 1,000 podcasts. You cannot imagine how many podcasts we've been on, and we've had reviews with all the major newspapers in the United States reviewed it, but back in July and back in June, when the movie was just coming out in film festivals. And that's
I belong to a group on Facebook called Binge or Cringe, and there's like 12,500 members.
Wow.
And it's all about like who should watch this and what should you do and everything else like that.
Once to that here in California. Yeah. Right.
So now you can go and promote it.
Yeah, go promote it.
There you go. Well, not
Yeah.
until you said it was okay.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you very much. Yeah, I know. She's our marketing arm.
I'm in marketing. I get it. It's okay.
Yeah, you can't. That's the thing about this. I mean, you can make a really high quality movie for very little money nowadays in the digital world, but selling it is still a nightmare. It still takes a ton of money to sell it. I mean, when we were showing it in one of the best theaters in Los Angeles. We showed it at the Royal Santa Monica, and then we moved to the Second Street Theater. The two best art house movie theaters in Los Angeles. They were always selling out everything they show. But I wanted to run an ad in the New York Times. They wanted not the New York, in the LA Times, they wanted like $12,000 for 2-inch by 2-inch. I couldn't see anybody spotting it in time to see the movie. It was just ridiculous. So, but that's the hardest thing, is getting the money to sell it, not to make it.
That's interesting.
So I know the next time I will definitely raise money to sell it as well as make it. Now I've learned my lesson on that one. But we still sold it to Hulu, so it's unbelievable.
And how many languages has it been translated into?
It's in it's kind of interesting you say that, because the biggest distributor in the Middle East signed us. They were our first person to sign us. I don't know how they must have seen it in the Barcelona Film Festival, is my guess, and they signed us. And then we signed with HBO in Eastern Europe. So that's 12 countries in Eastern Europe that we're showing it with. So it's, and then we were in Switzerland and we're in France. So it's been translated all over the place. It's just amazing how this business works. They knock it off like this.
And then Florence, who asked that question, also wondered how are you responsible for getting the translators, or how does that work?
No. The distributors are responsible for that, meaning that's part of their fee service of doing all that, getting prints into different languages, and subtitles, and so forth.
How many times is it translated versus just having the foreign language across the screen?
I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, we're in a dozen, maybe 15, 20 foreign language countries, so it has to be translated. It has to put titles on. It has to be translated or put titles on. You always, and on video on demand, you get your choice of whether you want titles or you want the voice to be natural, or you want it to be dubbed.
You don't have anything to say about that.
Yeah. No, I have no. Thank God I didn't. To be honest with you, I would have been lost. Yeah, the system handles all that once you find the right distributors. Like I said, we have about 20 different distributors in domestic, one just for Canada. So, and one just for the United Kingdom, which doesn't include Ireland. So it's amazing how many people are involved in selling this movie.
Susan?
I would like to thank you, Barbara, and our speaker, Arnold Zimmerman.
Uh-huh.
I think this is absolutely a unique insider view.
Yeah.
Where I would have gotten this.
Yeah. And the thing is that Barbara told me, I'm your age.
Right, that's right.
I'm not a kid.
If I saw it on PBS, I thought they'd be raising money with it.
Yeah. But raising money is the hardest thing. It took me 1.5 years, a nonstop call. I mean, all of my rich relatives turned me down. All of them turned me down. But I started with them, like you always do, I got one cousin who's a hedge fund manager, makes a ton of money. He couldn't see investing in a movie.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you. You renew our vision of what our senior years can
be. Exactly right. You don't have to stop doing anything.
And that's why I felt like this was kind of a special, different thing. Yeah. But then given the connection of, like all of our ages and Northwest Village, sort of our mission statement, and then to see Arnie. It just seemed like it fit so well.
Yeah.
So thank you, Susan, for saying that. Yeah.
It was a joy to make. Meaning, once I raised the money, I was not worried anymore. Up until that point, I was worried nonstop.
Yeah.
Because I had all these people counting on me,
But I think also Arnie was hit in the face with COVID, and that really stopped.
That killed us. I mean,
stopped so much, and yet it still was a success.
I think we finished the movie like 30 days before, finished editing the movie 30 days before the official announcement of COVID. And then all the film festivals got canceled. It was just so devastating. We were so depressed, I have to tell you, because we worked so hard just to get it to that point. And then we couldn't show it to anybody.
And Dina, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, what is your role now? I mean, what was your role in making the movie, like when you were on set? What specifically were you
basically, I was on set to get any, I'd say my number one role was when I was on set is to make sure Sabrina got everything she needed that we could afford.
I see.
That was just,
that's your role.
She was the director. She wrote the story and she was the director. And then sometimes she pushed us too hard and I could not fulfill what she needed. I said, Sabrina, you're gonna have to back up. We're not working a 20-hour day here, that sort of thing. So that was, I felt, my biggest role. And then negotiating all the deals to buy everything you can think of. Like I'll just give you an example. You remember the scene where the falcon or the hawk drops the fish onto the property there? Well, we had to find photographers that would give us that photo of theirs and somebody who would do it for nothing, that sort of thing. And you can't imagine how many photographers you got to talk to get them to give you the license to that shot. That sort of thing. That's just one.
That one shot.
Thousands.
Gee.
Yeah. It's just nonstop.
So you were getting all these things that she needed.
Right.
Together. Okay.
Right.
Because I thought you were like raising money and you wrote the original
raising the money was before, meaning now it's negotiating deals so that we can make the money for the money we had. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when you take out a loan to redecorate your house, you know how much money you have to redecorate. Now you got to negotiate with the carpet people and the furniture people and the wallpaper people and the painting people. That's what I did all day long.
Wow.
You
were busy.
Yeah, it's like I said, I would go to the supermarkets and I'd ask them if they'd give us a free case of water. In fact, I don't know if you noticed, one of Pablo's T-shirts was Dave's Killer Bread. Well, Dave's Killer Bread is a Portland, Oregon company, and Dave himself spent time in prison and then got out and took the family bread restaurant and created a great business, Dave's Killer Bread. So I convinced them to be a sponsor of the movie, to give us money to provide us.
Erica Farrow or Jerry Andrade.
Okay. Mute yourself.
Yeah, I'll call you back.
Oh, that's
my accountant. Sorry about that. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like little deals like that, so they gave us and they were happy for Pablo to wear the T-shirts in the movie, and they gave us all the bread and stuff we needed for our craft services and stuff like that. So they were great, but there was a lot of other people like that in the Portland area that provided us with products for free sometimes.
Wow.
So I have a question. So now when you watch a movie, can you ever watch it the same way you used to?
No, I got to tell you, it's really, that's a great question. It's kind of like, I look at the cinematography now like I've never looked before. It's the whole camera work and and the acting. Oh my God, I'm so critical of the acting now. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, you're right. It's different now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Joan?
I came late. Was this your first film? And how did you get Pablo Schreiber?
Yeah. We hired a young woman, Alexis Winter, in LA as the casting director for just the two leads. And she got the Pablo's with William Morris. She got the screenplay into William Morris, and Pablo's manager liked the screenplay, convinced Pablo to do it. And she got the screenplay into Jenna's agency, which is the second biggest agency. I'm drawing a blank on it. And Jenna's agent or PR person convinced her to do it.
Wow.
In fact, I used to tell that to Jenna all the time, you know, that once they told me Jenna Malone was interested, I said, stop looking. Because I don't know if you remember Jenna, when she was 12 years old, was the supporting actress in the movie Stepmom. And she played opposite Julia Roberts, and she played Susan Sarandon's daughter and played opposite Susan Sarandon at 12 years old, turned 13 on set, you know? And so to me, it was like, wow, she's now playing the single mom. She's playing the Susan Sarandon role now, even though she was playing the 12-year-old child Amelia's role then, you know, Periwinkle Blues role then. It just kind of felt right to me, you know? I kept reminding Jenna that.
So we have a question, which I think you answered before we all came on, but we have an interest in maybe buying the Lorelei T-shirts.
Yeah, my grandson designed the T-shirts. I'll make another batch and let you know. Everybody's been asking me. I've just been so busy. Okay. I'm waiting for money to come. I'm busy waiting for money to come in. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll let everybody know when we.
Yeah. That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah. You know, like I said, this is a major form of advertising. Yeah. Right.
And that's cool that your grandson designed them also.
He graduated art school in Portland.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So do we have any other questions? Anybody? Oh, John, I think you had a question. Did you have a question, John? You have to unmute. No?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Unmute. Yeah.
Arnie, I know that you were saying that on Hulu you get a fixed fee, but when you're on something like Amazon, which is a pay-per-view, do you end up getting any kind of royalty for those?
Well, Amazon is also a subscription, but we didn't go that route. If you watch my movie on Amazon, I think they're now at $2.99 you'd have to pay, or $4.99 if you want to own it. And it started at $5.99, which is kind of amazing to me. If you when you scroll down the different rows of subject matter, not romance movie, horror movies, blah blah blah, there's a section that says movies to rent or buy. That section, and we were like in the top 20 for like a month. The first month we came out, just flabbergasted me on Amazon, and that's how we made our money, was on video on demand. People paying $4.99 the first month we were out.
Wow.
Because when where you make your money, if you know, if Hulu, you've gotten a fixed fee, then it has to be you getting royalties other places.
Oh yeah. We're making money all over the place, but especially international. It's in dozens of countries right now. Just signed in Australia.
And then, John, you had a question?
Oh, I was just were you watching rushes every day when the movie was being made, and was the editing?
No, I was watching rushes a lot, but it was kind of like, they were nothing good. So it was kind of like, I didn't really care about it. I knew we'd have to edit it properly. I had the editor on site, so he could do rushes and get some editing done then. So he was with us in Portland, you know, that period of time. But we did Sabrina watched rushes every day. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't watch them every day.
Yeah.
The clips of the movies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Or anything?
I just want to comment that, you know, a lot of the posters and things that you saw of this tiny little woman with this big man, but yet it all worked. I mean, they were so tender. It was just a very, very tender, touching scene between the two of them. And I wouldn't have thought that this tiny little frail thing looking would blend with Pablo, but they did beautifully.
Yeah, I was worried about that. That was one of my biggest concerns, what the chemistry of those two would be. You know, they're both single. It's kind of interesting. It kind of worked in our favor. Both were separated from their spouses, and Pablo had two boys. You know, one was like 6 and one was 8, and Jenna had like a 3-year-old boy, and both were not living with their spouses anymore. Pablo got divorced. Jenna never got married, so she just separated. But it was kind of like, the issues in the movie with what they were dealing with now in real life. So it really worked to our advantage. In fact, Pablo always tells me that, the scene where Gretchen Corbett was at the trailer park, and he says, "Can I call you Dad?" And then Pablo screams at him, "Just because I tie your laces and I take you to school and I play I Spy games, it doesn't make you your dad." And the little boy, his name is Denham, says to him, "Well, what then? What makes you my dad?" Well, Pablo always says that Denham stole the movie for him with that on that scene. That's the way Pablo describes it. And he's only 6.
That was a beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that ad lib, or did Denham put that in?
No, that was not ad lib. We rehearsed him like that on Crazy. He was kind of a natural. And same thing with the period scene. That was just a great scene.
Oh, it was a great.
That was powerful.
It just showed how raising a man raising a female.
Yeah.
How difficult that was. It was beautifully put together.
Yeah, and I think that's why she did it with the mother gone, that scene, rather than having Jenna home when that happens.
Yeah.
To add that element to being a father.
Faye?
Yeah, I have kind of a 2-part question. I mean, you embarked on an incredibly complicated task, and you only knew some things. So I guess my 2 parts are, what caught you off guard the most? And then what do you feel best about that you accomplished? Because you just did you and the family, it was clearly a family affair.
Yeah, it was a family
what do you feel, what really just surprised you or caught you off guard? And then what do you feel really good about?
I realize what caught me off guard was that this would be, for me, almost an 8-year process, and for me and Sabrina, a 5-6 year process. That caught me off guard, that it would take this long to get it this right. I did not know that going in. And then second, I knew raising money was hard, but boy, raising money for a film is 10 times harder, than raising it for construction of a new house and that kind of stuff.
Because it's risky.
Because it's so risky. It's one of those deals where you either lose all your money or you double your money. It's nothing in the middle. It's just one of those. So, but once we started shooting, it just flowed. And the fact that we lost a year, we lost 8 months with COVID, that was a major disappointment. But it still flowed. We still got into film festivals. We didn't, we weren't in Tribeca and we weren't in Sundance, but we were in good film festivals. Just took a little longer, and then we got back into Tribeca when they opened the following year. So that was a real surprise to me. The length of time it takes, the difficulty to raise money. And then COVID, oh my God, that was like, wow. You finish a movie and then they have an epidemic.
So then what did you really feel good about? I mean, you accomplished a great deal. I
think what, number one, when we got into Tribeca the first time, it was unbelievable. Because they're one of the 3 biggest film festivals in North America. It's Toronto, Sundance, and Tribeca. Those are 3 huge ones. Getting in one of those on your first film is, with a first-time director and a first-time producer, it's like a miracle, that sort of thing. So that was one of my biggest accomplishments. And then selling it to a major distributor and then to Hulu, it's like boom, boom, back to back in just 3 or 4 months. But I knew it was going to happen, because I knew I saw the film when we saw it at Tribeca. When they opened up Tribeca in 2021 in June, which normally they have it in April, but they waited till June. All films that Tribeca showed were outdoors. They used no theaters. And so they couldn't show as many films as they'd like to show, and they couldn't show them as many times as they'd like to show, because they were all outdoors. You didn't have, you had to do it in the dark, that sort of thing. So that was kind of a miracle in that sense. And And now I'm losing my train of thought on that. What was the question again?
It was what you felt especially good about.
Yeah. I think Tribeca was a big one for me. One, because I'm from New York and a family. So they showed it outdoors in the financial district. You know, where if you know New York, where the World Trade Center was and where the new World Trade Center 1 building is.
Yeah.
So we were across the street in the financial center along the Hudson River. And we had about 300 to 400 people watching the movie Saturday night. And they gave us Saturday night. That's a miracle of miracles. How Sabrina must have twisted somebody's arms, you know, how she got Saturday night in New York to show our movie. 300, 400 people watching it outdoors. And it started, and we knew it was going to rain that day.
Oh, no.
And this is one of the miracles we did. And Sabina, the actress I was telling you about, who's associate producer, she got on the internet and she found these raincoats for like $1 a piece. So we bought a couple hundred raincoats and we gave them out free to everybody. Everybody watched the movie was wearing a different colored raincoat. It was great. And it did rain. It didn't rain hard, but it rained nonstop.
Knowing Portland, I'm surprised you had good enough weather to film.
Yeah, and that's why we did have some bad days. In fact, we had some days where the rain was so bad that cars got caught in the mud and we had to get a tow truck to get them out. You know, we had our physical problems of shooting in Portland, but we were done. We were done the first week in November. We were done, so it wasn't the rainy season yet, but it was coming. We did have some bad days. When you shoot in Oregon, you gotta take rain into consideration. No
rain and cloudy. I mean, it's just cloudy and drizzly. So
and that's what the look she wanted.
Okay, well, that's good.
That's the look she wanted. You know, she was just sold on that look, Sabrina. You know,
well, that's good.
Right. So that worked for her. I wasn't sure it was going to work for me, but it worked for her. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say one of the things you felt best about was that everybody in your family came out sane. I mean, this must have been incredible.
Yeah. And they were all there in Tribeca too, so it was kind of nice having the whole family there at Tribeca. You know, Tribeca was just we had a party at this brand new hotel, and they call it the East Village, but to me it was like the Lower East Side as I was a kid. This really high-end hotel. We were on the rooftop restaurant bar. It was the greatest party going. And we had, and this is another thing we negotiated. We got a tequila sponsor to pay for the tequila.
Did you have to put his title in the movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody gets a title. If they give you anything, they're in the movie. That's the way it works. Yeah. So that was
okay. Anybody else? Right. Well, Arnie and Janula and Carol, this has been really fun.
Thank you, Barbara. We really appreciate you putting this together.
Thank you. And so we really all want to thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's great meeting you. Is the movie coming to Philadelphia?
I don't see coming to Philadelphia. I'm going to New York, but I don't think I'll have time to go to Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you do,
if I come, I'll definitely let Barbara know if we're going to be in Philadelphia.
Yeah, if it's coming. Let us know. It'll be in the.
Like I said, we were in the Penn State, but only Sabrina's the only one. I wasn't traveling to those film festivals because of COVID, because of Janula and stuff like that. So I only did the theatrical release. I did the travel for all the theatrical release, but not for film festivals.
Okay. Lots of very good movies have been made in Philly, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Philadelphia. I've been watching Philadelphia nonstop. It's on HBO all the time now. The movie Philadelphia, the Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Again, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.